Father Ezra, Delia, Igor, thank you so much for joining us. So today's topic is about human progress and what does that look like? And so I want to start with a very general question. What is progress, and is there such a thing? Father Ezra?
Well, progress can be understood on the level of just material progress. Some people think that in order to have progress, we have better technology, we have better health. I would suggest that there's also a spiritual dimension, and progress means becoming better people and becoming a better society.
I would take off of that and say that I think most people would agree that humanity has progressed in terms of technology, in terms of healthcare, laws, and so on. Yet there is this kind of big hole in the sense that still we are asking ourselves what they asked each other in ancient Greece. You know, what does it mean to live a good life? Why are we not still happy? Why are people still, feeling lonely or having to take Prozac or all of these other sort of social issues that are creating difficulties for people in their life? So probably when we talk about progress, everybody can agree that there's great scientific progress, but is there the kind of human progress whereby people are more fulfilled and I think generally happy?
Igor, I want to ask you something very specific, actually. I mean, 10,000 years ago, do you think, just contrasting the two, today, 10,000 years ago, do you think that human beings today are better? Are we more progressed than our ancestors?
I don't know how you would define or what scale you would use it. As the father said, whether it is with respect to technologies or the tools that we have, certainly. We went to the moon, our ancestors didn't. With respect to happiness, I'm not too sure. I think to some extent technology is not in a vacuum. It doesn't operate in a vacuum. It's for a certain mean. Science could be in a vacuum to some extent. But when you relate it to the progress of an individual or humanity, then I think we've done some nice steps, and it has some ebbs and flows. In general, I would say went in the right direction.
Okay, so let me ask you this question. So, I mean, as far as the indicators go, humans are living longer. You know, infant mortality is kind of going down. So, I think everyone would acknowledge, in many ways, things are the bell curve is positive. Things are getting better. But if we're not happier, what is this whole human civilization thing really about? You know, why are we driven by this need to progress if it's not about happiness and wellness?
Well, I think that part of the issue is how do we define what is progress? And in order to say there has to be an end in mind. And so if we imagine we're walking along a road, we progress only if we know that we're heading in the right direction and we're going toward our goal. And so what happens is that different people define happiness different ways. And ultimately, I would say happiness has to have an element that is understood by all human beings. Otherwise, you could say, well, this is progress for a culture, but is this true human progress? And this end, then, is going to be defined either by a philosophy or by a religion. Of course, as a Catholic priest, I would say it means drawing closer to God.
Delia, let me ask you, do you think people have a sense that we're headed in a very particular direction? Is there a destination that we're all working towards?
No, I think I would just say, based on anecdotal evidence, that there's a lot of confusion about, it's an existential question. What are we all headed towards? And it's one that people have grappled with for a long time. And I don't think your average person really grapples with it very much. And maybe that's part of what Humanity 2.0 wants to bring out, because it's an important question in terms of happiness and deciding, what is the way that I should live my life. And nowadays is more about the consumer situation and buying things and using the internet and this kind of temporary feeling good, right? Then there are the other markers of healthcare and economic well-being. But I don't think happiness for the average person is understood in terms of a kind of philosophical or theological end.
And so thinking about even how people characterize their lives now, I think progress was more of a question in the 1960s when people were asking themselves about, are we having progress with respect to world peace? Can we avoid a nuclear war? Are we having progress with technology? There was a lot of development in this time after World War II. Whereas now, I think you're right. People have a deadening of their interests. And so the questions are less palpable, perhaps, among the current generation than they used to be.